Hey everyone, so I'm still out here testing out a bunch of the Strike Industries stuff that I've been using for a few months now, and I gotta say, just right off the bat, I really like most of it. As you've seen in other videos, like for example things like the Strike Switch, I was not a huge fan of that, but generally speaking I really like what I've put on here from Strike Industries. And so this video is going to be focused on the charging handle that I have here, which is the I believe they call it the Arc L. I just call it for ease the Archangel, because that's what I think when I see those letters together. Anyway, so the Arc L charging handle here, as you can see, it does have that little extended flared bit. It is only single-sided. That might be a deal breaker for a lot of people out there. However, for me, I have no issue with that whatsoever. I train almost exclusively on single-sided charging handles. Before using this charging handle from Strike Industries, the ones that I've had the most experience on are obviously the mil-spec, just standard, super small charging handle, and then what was and still is one of my favorites, which is the BCM gunfighter charging handles. I love those things, and I have them on a few of my rifles. Now, that said, I wanted to try out the Strike Industries one since I was putting a bunch of Strike Industries stuff into this build, which, just FYI, I do have a series on this entire build. I'll put a playlist down below so you guys can watch that. In that video, I talk a lot about each individual part that I'm putting on and why I'm doing it. Obviously, since then, I've added and changed some things. And this is pretty much the configuration in which this thing is going to stay in, generally speaking. I think I've got it pretty much where I have it to where I'm comfortable using this as a rifle that I can use to protect myself. Anyway, all that out of the way. So let me tell you a little bit more about this charging handle. When it comes to charging handles, obviously one of the things that you're going to care the most about is, does it work? Can I very easily manipulate it? And I can say, because of all the testing I've done with this upper, some of the ammos that I've been testing are subsonic ammo, and I have found that this upper does not like to cycle subsonic ammo without a suppressor. So because of that, whenever I'm testing subsonic ammo, this thing basically becomes a single shot rifle. So every single time I have to pull back on that charging handle, I have to pull back on this charging handle and activate it, so actuate it. So because of that, I've gotten a lot of actuations behind this charging handle in a relatively short amount of time, just within the last few months that I've been testing it. And I can say that it has performed excellent. I wasn't sure how well it was going to hold up, you know, if anything was going to break or bend on it. I have to say that this thing, out of the box, was the smoothest charging handle I've ever used, at least as far as aftermarket ones. The BCM gunfighter ones, like I said, I love them. However, when you first put them in, and I found this a lot with aftermarket charging handles, when you put them in, they kind of feel a little bit gritty for a long time until you really wear it in, and you have to kind of wear a lot of that finish off before it starts cycling really, really smooth. Right out of the box, or out of the bag with this thing, it was cycling really, really smooth. I was actually very surprised and pleasantly surprised because of that. There was really no break-in period where this thing was super gritty and you know, anything like that. So I really like that fact about this charging handle. And as you can see, it's got a pretty good a flare on it compared to your mil-spec ones. Now I have my BCM one just so you can see comparison. So I don't remember which mod this is. However, this is the, it says right here, Gunfighter Charging Handle Mod 4. And I believe this is the medium size, so you can see how far off the side that is. Kind of hard to tell with the optic in the way. But it's about the same distance. This one might be a little bit further. And this is the one that comes on it. I want to say that you can replace it with longer and or shorter ones. However, I'm not 100%. So I'll put down here if I'm incorrect on that. But because of that flare out, it's exceptionally easy to actually manipulate this thing. Whether you want to do it with your flat hand, you know, if you're big into gross motor skills, just coming back and pushing back on it, you know, I can do this all day long. If you want to grab onto it, even better. I can even say shooting it offhand. Sometimes with the shorter charging handles, it's a little bit more difficult to really get on that charging handle and actuate it. But coming back offhand, whether again you want to use your flat palm to cycle that charging handle, or if you want to grab over the top, you know, it works really well. And for me, that's one of the reasons I don't feel the need for an ambidextrous charging handle. Not that there's anything wrong with them. but generally they're going to be at least twice the cost. And if I can just roll this rifle over and actuate it just as easily, then I don't feel the need to pay twice as much for an ambidextrous charging handle. But again, hey, if they float your boat, great. But single side works just fine for me. Now, I want to point out, for any of you guys who like to shoot suppressed, this won't do much, if anything, to stop that gas coming back in your face. There are charging handles out there that advertise that they will do that. However, in my experience, this one will not do that. However, what I will say is, just with any charging handle, if you put a little bit of RTV back here just to kind of fill in that gap up against the receiver, it will do a little bit to actually prevent a little bit of that gas coming back in your face. Basically, if you cover up that Strike Industries logo with RTV, that's going to do a little bit to help prevent some of that gas from coming back and gassing you out. But considering I don't run this thing suppressed all the time right now, since I'm just using one on my truss and not one that I own individually, it doesn't really matter to me how well it shoots suppressed, because I'm not shooting it largely suppressed. And just to show you an example, since I have my BCM one here, of what I'm talking about in regards to the wear and tear before these things get smooth, you can probably tell. And now granted, this gun does have many thousand rounds through it, so I've obviously used it a lot more, but you can tell right there on those corners where that finish has worn off, and it's definitely smoothed out since then. Not an exceptional amount of wear, but again, it was just a little bit gritty when I first got it, but now it's cycling just fine. But like I said, I have many thousand rounds through this gun, and 600, 700, 800 through my 300 Blackout. In a nutshell, if you're looking for a good aftermarket charging handle, or one that you can put in with your build, I really like what Strike Industries is doing. I really like this charging handle. It's not going to break the bank. They're actually, I think, very reasonably priced, especially when you compare it to some of the other high quality ones out there. And just to add, as you can see, it's raining. You can probably hear it as well. And it's just above freezing right now. It's in the low 30s. So my finger dexterity isn't the best, and yet I'm still having no problem actuating the charging handle, as you saw in the video. But if you're looking for an aftermarket charging handle, I really think that Strike Industries is a good place to look. I'll put a link down below as to where you can find these. If you feel so inclined, you can let them know that I sent you in the comments of your order, or what have you. That's going to help me out. I will say that I paid for pretty much all, actually, for everything Strike Industries on this gun right now. I did pay for all of it. Now they did send me some little stuff like the mag release and the enhanced bolt catch, neither of which are on this gun, for free, but everything else I did pay for. So just throwing that out there. So I can in good conscience say that I recommend a lot of these Strike Industries products. And like I said, this charging handle is no exception to that. I really like this charging handle. Like I said, because this thing doesn't cycle subs, I've gotten way more use out of it than I normally would for the amount of rounds for this thing. But I can tell you this, I don't plan on changing it out anytime soon, if ever. And if I did, it'd probably just be to test out another charging handle to review. But this is probably what's going to stay at home on this upper. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and throw those in the comment section below. Like I said, I'll have a link to this and the other Strike Industries stuff on here down below in the description. Now that said, all that out of the way, I hope you're able to get something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.